I was standing in a stranger's living room. My hands are shaking, holding printed screenshots of my husband cheating, when the woman he was sleeping with started crying, and her husband leaned forward, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "I'll pay you if you help me destroy them both. And before you judge me, before you decide what you would have done, you need to hear how I ended up in that room, because nothing about this started the way you think it did. And the worst part, that wasn't even the most shocking moment. Let me back up, but not too far, because this story isn't about cheating. It's about how blind trust turns into calculated revenge, and how one choice can flip the power so fast it gives you whiplash. 2 weeks earlier, I thought I had a normal life. Not perfect, not an spam fake, just solid. I was married to a man I trusted, a man I would have sworn under oath who would never do this to me. And yet there I was, in another woman's house, holding proof of an affair so messy it blew up 2 marriages at once. And before I tell you what offer I accepted, you need to understand what I lost first, because the setup matters. And the red flags, they were hiding in plain sight. I'm 32. I work in operations for a logistics company. Numbers, deadlines, no drama. I'm not emotional. I'm not impulsive. I don't snoop. I don't scream. I believe in facts. My husband Mark is 35, charming in that low-key way. Not flashy. The guy everyone's parents loved. We'd been married for 6 years. No kids yet, by choice. Decent savings. Joint accounts. Shared calendar. Shared location. No secrets. At least, that's what I thought. He'd recently gotten busy at work. A promotion he swore was coming. Longer hours. Late meetings. NYEA hate. Notice the changes. The new cologne. The phone is always fixed. The way he flinched when notifications went off. But I told myself the same lie we all tell ourselves. If I don't have proof, I'm just being paranoid. So I swallowed it. Every time. The intimacy changed. First, 1 week, he barely touched me. The next, he was overly affectionate, like he was trying to make up for something. I asked him once casually, "Is everything okay?" He smiled. "Too fast. Yeah, just tired." And I believed him, because believing him was easier than admitting something felt wrong. Then came the money, small charges at first, hotels that must be fraud, Uber rides at weird hours, not big enough to explode over, just enough to make your stomach twist, and every time I almost pushed, I backed off, because I trusted my husband, and I trusted myself. The night everything cracked open was stupidly normal. I was half asleep, scrolling, when his Apple Watch, the one he forgot on the night stand, lit up a message. Preview. One line. That's all it took. "I miss you. Last night wasn't enough. Never." Name. Chessa heart. Emoji. By body. Went cold. I didn't wake him. I didn't cry. I sat there, watching his chest rise and fall, while my entire marriage collapsed silently in my hands. I unlocked the watch, then the phone, then the truth poured out like poison. Hotel confirmations, deleted texts through Venmo, notes that made me physically nauseous. "Thanks for last night." I found her name, I found her Instagram, and what hit me hardest wasn't her looks. She wasn't younger, she wasn't prettier, she wasn't some fantasy, she was ordinary. Married, smiling in family photos, standing next to a man who had no idea his life was about to implode. And in that moment, something inside me snapped, clean and sharp, because I realized something that changed everything. She had a husband too, and he didn't know. I stared at his face on her profile. The pride, the trust, and I asked myself the question that would decide everything next. Do I protect a stranger? Or do I burn this entire lie to the ground? Because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. And the next move I made, it started a chain reaction that ended with a man offering me money to help him destroy his own wife. But first I had to catch them, and that's when things got dangerous. Here's the thing nobody tells you about betrayal. The moment you know, you stop feeling like a victim and start thinking like a hunter. Because once I saw those messages, once the puzzle finally snapped into place, I didn't cry, I didn't confront him, I planned, and that decision, that's what led me to watch my husband kiss another woman in a parking lot. He thought no one was watching. The next morning, I acted normal. To normal, I made coffee, asked, about his meeting, even joked about his overtime. And mark God, he was relaxed. That's how I knew. Liars get comfortable when they think you're clueless. He mentioned a late work dinner that night. Same excuse, same tone. I nodded, smiled, said, "Don't work too hard." Then I opened our shared calendar. Same fake meeting, same vague title. And that's when I checked his location history. Because yes, we shared locations. His idea. At 7:42 p.m. he left work at 7:55. He wasn't heading home. He was driving in the opposite direction. My hands didn't shake this time. I grabbed my keys, didn't tell anyone where I was going, and for the first time in my life, I followed my husband. I kept 2 cars back, heart pounding. My mind is painfully clear. He pulled into a restaurant parking lot. Not fancy, not sketchy, neutral, safe, the kind of place cheaters think makes them invisible. And then she arrived. She parked next to him. They didn't hesitate, no awkward greeting, no distance. She smiled like she belonged there. He leaned in, kissed her cheek, then her mouth. Casual, comfortable, like this wasn't their first time. I filmed it every second. Something inside me whispered, "You're going to need this." They walked in together, laughing, hands brushing, and I sat there, watching 6 years of loyalty get erased in under 10 seconds. I didn't storm in. That's what they expect. Instead, I went home, put his video on my laptop, labeled it with the date, backed it up 3 times. Then I waited. He came home around 10:30, smelling like her perfume. He kissed me. I tried to. I turned my head. "Long meeting?" I asked. He nodded. And that's when I said, "Sit down." His smile faded. I didn't yell. I pressed play. The video filled the room. Silence. His face drained. Then came the script. It's not what it looks like. I paused the video, zoomed in. Really? Then the pivot. Okay, but it was just emotional. I opened the messages, then the classic, "You've been distant." I felt neglected. I didn't mean for it to happen. I listened. Let him dig. Then I asked one question. "How long?" He hesitated, and that hesitation told me everything. He finally admitted it wasn't just once, or just emotional. Months. Hotest, lies, plans. And when he begged, actually begged forgiveness, I realized something chillingly calm. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done, but I wasn't finished. Because if he thought the worst part was getting caught, he had no idea what I was about to do next. I wasn't done with her, and I definitely wasn't done with the man who had no idea his wife was playing house with mine. Next, I went to see the Mistress. And that meeting, that's when the story took a turn even I didn't expect. People think confrontation is loud. It's not. Asterisk. If you're watching this story, tighten your blanket and hit the like button so YouTube understands you want the next chapter unlocked. Tell me in the comments, which beautiful country are you watching from? And what's the exact time there right now? Asterisk. The most devastating moments happen when you stay calm and let the truth do the damage for you. Because when I finally met the woman sleeping with my husband, I didn't scream. I smiled, and that smile scared her more than any yelling ever could. I didn't show up unannounced. That would have given her power. Instead, I sent her a message from my husband's phone. Simple, casual. "Can we talk tomorrow? Same place." She replied in seconds. "Yes, I've been thinking the same." That's when I knew she thought she was in control. We met at a quiet cafe near her office. Glass windows, daylight. No hiding. She arrived early, hands shaking, eyes scanning, and when she saw me, her face told the story before her mouth ever did. I sat down, I placed my phone on the table, and said, "I'm Mark's wife." No drama, just facts. She froze. Then denial rushed in. "I think there's been a misunderstanding." I slid these screenshots across the table, hotel receipts, messages, the video. Her breath hitched, tears welled, and then she said the sentence that made my blood go cold. "He told me you were separated." I didn't react. I let her talk. He said you didn't want kids, that you were emotionally unstable, that the marriage was over. Every word was a knife. Not because I believed her, but because I recognized the script. He'd rewritten our entire life to make himself the victim. Then she dropped it, the thing she hadn't planned to say, "I might be pregnant." The cafe noise vanished. I stared at her. And suddenly this wasn't just betrayal, it was a potential life-altering disaster. I took a breath. Then I asked calmly, "Does your husband know?" Her head snapped up, color drained from her face. You know about him?" I smiled again. "That's the thing," I said. "I know everything." She begged. I cried, promised she'd end it. But it was too late. Because the truth had already crossed the line it couldn't come back from. That night, I found him. LinkedIn, Facebook. A man who looked proud, successful, clueless. I typed the message, deleted it, typed again. Finally, I sent proof. Not everything, just enough. He replied an hour later, "We need to talk." When I met him, I expected a shock. I expected denial. What I got instead was furious, not loud, not emotional, controlled. Focused. End. Then he said something that changed the entire game, something that made me realize this wasn't just about cheating anymore. It was about leverage and power and revenge. Have you ever met someone who's just quietly terrifying? That was him, her husband. Not loud, not dramatic, but the kind of man who could ruin your life without raising his voice. And yet, here he was, leaning back in a leather chair, looking me over, and saying something that made my jaw drop. "I'll pay you if you help me destroy them both." We met at a neutral place, a downtown office building, modern, glass walls, minimalist power in simplicity. The air was tense. Neither of us knew if the other was an ally or just another victim ready to snap. We sat across from each other. I studied with him, he studied me, then the stories came out. Timeline of lies, messages, dates, excuses. Our cheater's world unraveled faster than either of us could have imagined. I realized then we were not just angry spouses, we were architects of justice. Then he told me things he hadn't shared yet. The mistress's husband wasn't just a regular guy. He had assets, business interests, public reputation, family inheritance. If the affair went public the wrong way, he could lose millions. And so, could she. It wasn't just betrayal anymore, it was leverage. It was an opportunity, and he leaned in, eyes sharp. "I can't just sit back, but if we do this right, you could walk away from your divorce set for life, and they'd get what's coming to them." Then he laid it out. Option 1, financial revenge. We expose the affair. I make sure you get full legal coverage, and his assets? He won't see it coming. Option 2, fake relationship plan. We act together, let them think we're plotting. Expose them publicly at the right moment. Option 3, legal maneuvering. Coordinate moves on her assets, prenup clauses, cut her off while ensuring you gain security. I sat quietly, trying to keep my stomach from flipping. He wasn't bluffing. He was calculating. And I realized if I said yes, I wasn't just fighting back. I was stepping into a game I'd never played before. I thought about morality, about revenge, about whether saying yes made me just as bad. Part of me screamed, "Don't do it." Another part whispered, "They deserve it." And the most intoxicating thought, pow, the kind that turns betrayal into leverage, the kind that makes the world shift under someone else's feet. I wanted it. I wanted them to feel the collapse that had haunted me for weeks. Finally, I spoke. "I'll do it, but under one condition." He leaned in, expecting negotiation, and I said, "No lies, no half measures. We do this clean. We do this smart, or I walk." He nodded. The tension didn't lift. It thickened, because once we started, there was no going back. And that's when I realized the next step wasn't just exposure, it was destruction. Revenge isn't loud. It doesn't scream. It doesn't throw things. It waits, and then it shows up dressed as the truth right when everyone least expects it. By the time my husband realized what was happening, it was already too late. We didn't rush it. That was the mistake they would have made. Instead, we waited for the moment when exposure would hurt the most. At a business dinner, high-end restaurant, executives, spouses, the kind of night where appearances mattered. Mark told me he'd be working late. Of course he did. I arrived 10 minutes after him, not as his wife, but as his consequence. The mistress was there, too, on his arm, smiling like she'd won. She hadn't, not even close. We didn't cause a scene, we caused silence. Her husband stood first, calm, controlled. He thanked everyone for coming, then placed a folder on the table, photos, messages, dates, a timeline, so clean it could have been a presentation. Then I spoke. "I'm Mark's wife," I said gently, "and I just wanted everyone to finally meet the woman he's been sleeping with." Gasps. Mark's face collapsed. The mistress started crying. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." No yelling, no chaos, just the sound of reputancies shattering. The aftermath was brutal. Mark lost more than his marriage, his job, his credibility, his narrative. The mistress, she lost access to everything she thought was secure. Accounts frozen, prenup enforced, family support gone overnight, and me. I walked away clean. Divorce, finalized fast with evidence that left no room for negotiation. New apartment, new routine, therapy, peace. Or so I thought. 3 months later, Mark showed up at my door. Unannounced. Older Schmolla. He said he missed me. He said it was the biggest mistake of his life. And I realized something in that moment. I didn't feel angry. I felt nothing. Because the real revenge wasn't destroying him. It was outgrowing him. And just when I thought the drama was finally over, I got a message from someone I never expected. But that is a story for another day. If you've ever ignored red flags, if you've ever trusted the wrong person, or if you believe karma sometimes needs a little help, hit like, subscribe, and share this story. Because some betrayals deserve to be told, and some truths, they change everything.